Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Fendler. I think all know me. Most of you know me. If we haven't met in person, we probably met over the email at least. I'm here at Nevada, California, Spectraflow's headquarters, sitting in front of our lab P7570, which I've been putting through its paces, testing against the Apparel use case. Adding it to sort of our virtual fleet. At last count. The folks who are here today represent some 80 P series printers, P9000s, P7000s, P5000s. We've got one of these so far. So it's sort of, our first look at it. We've gone deep into what it can do just as the one unit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've learned from that testing. So let me see if I can share my slides. And there we go. Okay. So the apparel fleet use case, basically I'm just telling you what you know already about this. It's many P series printers, just in case there's some folks who are not 100% familiar with sort of how this works. We're usually concerned with lots of P series printers that are calibrated and optimized to match each other. They match not only one printer to the next, but each of those over time. And so Mark was talking about the piezo technology. The reason we use Epson printers is that they're basically the only ones who can do this. We're able to calibrate them, enough so that they match, imperceptibly, we call it. The tool we use for that is FireXF, the RIP that everybody is running in this solution. And FireXF version 7 for the 9570 and 7570. EFI supported it right away. The first day we had our printer, EFI had launched the new version of FireXF. So they've been supporting it from the get-go. What FireXF allows us to do is to calibrate to a common standard so that each printer can match the others down to 1 delta E on the hardest colors to match. So if you take these printers out of the box, if you're a photographer, for example, and maybe you have a small one and a big one and you like them to match, it's good enough for photo work. But FireXF takes it to the next level and it gets the last 10% of your palette colors to match down to 1 delta E, where if you're just printing them, 2 brand new printers out of the box, it's around 2 delta E, which you can see the difference there. So that's the big win with FireXF, and we're able to do that over time as the printer ages. The Epson printer is very stable, but it's not immune to drift. So as the inks age and the printer ages and the pumps get a little bit tired, the various things that all conspire to make the colors change a little bit. I think of it just as entropy, as chaos in the printer. FireXF lets us kind of reset that back to 0 so that we're getting the same color, perceptibly the same color, sort of functionally the same color, across your fleet all the time, right? And the more frequently we do those calibrations, if it's every quarter or every 4 months, or even sometimes twice a year, the more frequently you do it, the less jarring it is when you set that back. You sort of bring everything back to 0. If it's drifted more, then that's it's more of a change to get back to 0. But it always comes back, and a lot of that is owing to the Epson hardware and then what we do with FireXF. So speaking of which, one of the main components of Epson consistency is the Epson enhanced matte paper. There's a few folks in this industry who are still printing on single weight matte or hot press natural, and you folks know who you are. It's sort of a peculiar use case where single weight is the better paper for some folks. It doesn't have a bigger gamut, but some people like the hand of it, the way it folds or the way it handles. And hot press natural is a very particular use case. It's a very high quality, I believe, cotton-based paper that has no optical brighteners, so it doesn't flare under different lighting conditions. And we've had folks, create stand-ins for physical standards using the Epson printer and high quality paper like hot press natural. There's even another paper now, Epson Legacy Fiber, that's a little brighter and still, superior in that non-flaring. And then, what else do we do to match to standard with these printers? There's probably a large number of folks on this call who have spent a lot of time ranging colors against the Epson printers. And, all that calibration leads to the fact that you can range a color once, as long as the standards provider doesn't reformulate, that color is going to match when you print it on the printer. So you come up with a print optimized RGB value, send it to the printer through FireXF, and it's the same every printer, every time, over time. The last thing that's kind of important about this use case is that when you're maintaining a dozen or more printers, you have to have supplies and nozzle checks and cleanings, and it's a lot of work for somebody on the team. Hopefully it's everybody on the team is sharing responsibility for maintaining their printers. But it does add up to time and then downtime when you do have either a lapse or a couple years into the printers. Sometimes you'll have nozzle clogs and need to take advantage of the Epson warranty, which is fantastic. So we'll talk a little bit about the innovations that Epson has put into warranties as well. All right, so what is it about the Epsons that make them best suited for this use case? And talk a little about the 9570 and the 7570 and how we see it fitting into the fleets. The printhead technology being so stable, we just can't do that with Canon or HP thermal heads. They're great printers for general purpose if you're doing Pantone colors for point of sale or something like this. The kind of match and the precision that we get with the Epson printer really makes it superior and kind of a unicorn in the inkjet, professional inkjet printing world. FireXF recalibration once per quarter, and the reason that it works is because the Epson hardware is so stable. And so if we had a thermal print head that was changing all the time, the printers becomes more of a moving target and it's harder to calibrate. You have to do it more often. So FireXF calibration once per quarter is made possible, really. It functions because of the Epson hardware. And then we talked on ranging colors. It is time consuming work, and you would only have to do it once ideally with this printing solution, the Epson hardware plus the FireXF RIP. And then, the fact that they match across the different printers has a couple benefits. If one printer does go down, you can keep printing with the other ones, right? And the other thing is that, a lot of this is seasonal work, as we know. And so you can really push a lot of work out on multiple printers. We can even set FireXF up to, split tasks with different printers. So you can get really the maximum amount of output from these printers when you need it. And then, Mark talked a lot about the new technology on the 9570 and how it all adds up. The fact that the paper feed is sealed, so dust can't get in, it is a big improvement. And this clog detection system that uses the waveform technology, they introduced that on the P10K, which is the high-speed printer, and the 20K 60-inch printer. And then we saw it in the P5000, which many of you might be familiar with, the 17-inch P5000. And in our kind of anecdotal experience, the P5000, you almost never find a nozzle out on the pattern because the printer sort of knows with great certainty when a nozzle is clogged. So we still recommend, a lot of folks are probably sitting at home thinking, well, that's it for nozzle checks. I don't have to do those anymore. We're still going to recommend, a physical nozzle check as often as you have access to the printer. Once a week is still a great idea. Don't go into the weekend with a clogged head is usually our advice. But in general, we expect that you'll find that the printer has already taken care of that you're not going to discover, sort of a surprise nozzle clog on your paper nozzle check pattern. The printer can know, and in my experience with the P5000, the printer is better than my eye at detecting, a nozzle clog in the light gray channel, for example. So less break fix. We know when we do have to replace a print head on these printers or all the other P series printers, it's like getting a brand new printer. The print head controls how the color is laid down. So we have to recalibrate from scratch in FireXF. So the less time the printers spend being repaired and new print heads, the less break fix, the less recalibration, the more time it's printing for your seasonal peak throughput.